Dragi gledalci, dobrodošli u još jednu epizodu emisije Diplomata. Moj današnji sagovornik je šef misije Međunarodne organizacije za migraciju u Srbiji, gospodin Zejnal Hadžijev. Mr. Hadžijev, thank you for taking the time of your day to speak with us.
Thank you very much for taking the initiative. Very pleased to welcome you here in IOM premises.
Of course, and thank you for the pleasant welcome as well.
Yes.
Before we get into the mission of the IOM, could you share with our viewers some information about your career before becoming Chief of Mission of IOM here, and how have you been spending your time here after a year in Serbia?
Yeah, thanks. I've been quite a long career with IOM. I started soon it's going to be 30 years. I started with IOM back in my home country in Azerbaijan in 1996. I worked for 4 years there as a national staff, and I've been working on diverse migration issues. And then I became an international staff. Started again in Serbia back then, but in Kosovo.
Oh, so also, yes, okay.
Yes, and I worked for 4 years there, working on different the projects, initiatives. After which I was transferred to Iraq mission. I spent for 4 years in Iraq mission also. And then I became a chief of mission in Tajikistan for 4 years again. And then I took the responsibility for the mission in Belarus, where I worked for 7 years as chief of mission. Then I continued as a regional coordinator for Central Asia for 5 years, based in Kazakhstan, Astana, before coming here. And since October last year, I've been here in this beautiful and lovely country.
That's great to hear.
And I really enjoyed being here. And this is not new for me, but since I was here more than 20 years ago and now coming back, I can see the big development, big advancement, not only in terms of infrastructure, overall the life or well-being of people, but also seeing also how the country has advanced in terms of migration management, the issues it's dealing. So it's a very, very enabling and pleasant environment to work and to live in.
Now, you have arrived a year before, but the IOM has arrived in Serbia at 1992. How has the mission of IOM here in Serbia been developing since then until today?
Yeah, indeed. IOM opened its office in Belgrade in 1992, and that was quite a challenging times for the entire Balkans and entire Western Balkans, for Serbia specifically. And of course, IOM primarily was focusing as acting within this interagency committee to provide the assistance to primarily to displaced people. And a lot of people moving around in former Yugoslavia and of course in Serbia itself. And IOM was there to support these displaced people together with the government institutions, with other partners, international community. And of course, as situation was evolving and changing, and IOM was changing in terms of its interventions, the operations, of course, always aligning it with the priorities of government of Serbia. And of course, after the conflict was over, or the peacetime, IOM moved to supporting more as post-conflict period, providing for those to reintegrate or integrate, to move to the places of origin, but also working with the government partners, focusing on diverse issues. One of them was, of course, in mid-2000s, specifically, tackle the booming back then, the issues of human trafficking. And IOM was working very closely with partners in this regard, while also supporting the institutions in building more effective migration management system in general. And back then, of course, Serbia was also witnessing, along with many other countries, a huge outflow of migrants for work to Western Europe, to other European countries. And of course, IOM was cooperating and partnering with the government to make sure that these people leaving the countries also, they have better options, better choices, and also the government has a good system that could provide for them the needed support and if necessary return, and so IOM was working always again aligning its operations, its priorities with the priorities of the country, priorities of the people will move. And last 10 years, the whole Western Balkans, again specifically Serbia, also have witnessed unprecedented influx of transit migrants, irregular migrants, and I have to comment on the response provided by the Serbian government, and of course we've been working very closely again with many partners together with the government to respond to these challenges. Just in a short period of time, over 1.5 million people crossed through Serbia.
Wow.
And making sure that these people are safe, they are protected, at least to a certain degree, was a huge, challenging task. And we really appreciate that the Serbian government was cooperating very well, providing resources, human resources, financial resources, infrastructure, and also opening so that these people can move safely. And as usually what happens, such mass movement of people, of course, there are also a lot of the negative things also happen in regards to the rights of these people, especially the vulnerable people. So it was highly important to focus also on building a system that also would be able to provide a protection for those vulnerable. And again, in that sense too, we have witnessed an excellent cooperation of the government. And as now we see that the migration dynamics, the landscape is shifting from this mass irregular movements of people to more regular, to more the legal way of people coming for work.
So it's increased mobility of those people.
Exactly, yes. Exactly. Now it's also we see increased labor mobility of people for coming.
Yes.
And in this sense, of course, the task, again, the priorities are shifting from the crisis response to building effective labor migration management systems. And that is a very complex task. While we still have quite a number of passing through migrants, transit migrants, while we also, along with that, we witness even more smugglers and traffickers being involved. That also requires special attention of the government, all the international organizations, civil society organizations, in the communities to be aware of, so that among those people in smaller numbers, but yet quite considerable numbers, so that these people vulnerables are protected, including minors, the women, all different type of vulnerable categories. So the government needs to pay attention to this, and that comes also in combination with some security risks that pose. They're going to pay attention, but at the same time, we see the increasing demand in the labor migrants, the migrant workers, foreigners coming for work in Serbia and in other countries of the Western Balkans. And so we are now shifting our focus increasingly from crisis response, while keeping up, of course, major interventions in that sense, relying more and more increasingly on our national partners. But also we see now a need to do more in terms of making this labor mobility management effective, so that it serves the best interest of the country.
Yes, and it seems like this trend will only be rising in the future as well. Yes?
Absolutely, absolutely. Serbia is a very interesting country, and in terms of its super strategic, I would say, the geographic location, but also with historical. ties, links, and being on the crossroad of different migratory routes. Serbia also is a very ambitious country in terms of its aspirations to develop economically, socially, advance, but that also is combined with the strategic goal of Serbia to eventually join the EU, be part of this European Union community.
So it's also an important part of this process as well.
So, and this process, of course, also that makes that the focus now should be put on how to make migration governance system of Serbia to meet the international standards, align with the EU policies and practices as well, and not only on legislation but also in terms of operations on the ground. Serbia, again, in terms of its ambitions, also has created quite an enabling environment for foreign investments. We see dozens, well, not dozens, hundreds of foreign companies, transnational, national foreign companies, coming, opening businesses here, opening factories, production. And in that sense, of course, these businesses require also the workers. And it is very interesting to see the foreign companies coming, opening a business here and employing foreigners to carry on job.
Yes.
Because Serbia, as many European countries, faces a big demographic challenges. While Serbia is hosting now tens of thousands foreign the migrant workers, at the same time continues to be also as a source of labor migrants by itself.
Yes.
People, annually different reports say 30 to 60,000 people are leaving the country to search for jobs abroad, and these young or you know, economically very active people. So the focus is now we have to deal with these two.
So the focus has to be ever-changing, it seems,
Exactly.
along with the nature of people and
Exactly.
their global mobility as well.
Exactly.
I feel like you've covered good how does the IOM-a fit into the broader system of international organizations that are operating in Serbia. But could you share with us your view of the current situation regarding migration in Serbia?
Yeah, as we started, the migration dynamics is changing. Migration by itself is a very dynamic process. It is very, I would say, market-driven process. It is based on the demand and supply. If there is a demand, there will be always supply. It could be in a positive or negative sense of it. And the whole point for everyone is how you identify what are the issues, what are those positives, and what are those negatives, so that you can tackle the negatives, you can address them, while making that this positive works for the best. So we see the sharp decrease in irregular migration, even though it still remains. And irregular migration always needs to be handled, primarily for the sake of the migrants themselves, not only for the countries. We know that it's happening globally, and it continues, this process. But at the same time, we see increasing number of the labor foreign workers coming to the country. And this is also changing. Changing is also the geography of those who are coming from different countries. So we see how diverse geographic locations, the countries, they're becoming more and more countries of origin for migrants coming. Another interesting issue is where the country requires and needs to deal with is that those who are coming, even legally, may become eventually as irregular. Either overstaying their visas or
so if their status isn't dealt with.
Yes. But also some of them And according to the sources from the government partners, from Ministry of Labor, to be more precise, about 10% of those coming legally for work eventually attempt to enter EU countries in irregular ways. So this is also another issue to deal. So there we clearly see that the labor mobility is not as straightforward, as simple as may seem, because businesses require people to come. The government's task is to create these enabling situation so that the people are coming, they come in a legal way, they have the access to all services, they are paying the taxes, but they are also protected, provided. This is the government's primary task. But in practice, how it is being implemented, that requires quite an effort and resources from the government side. But there is also one more element, which is highly important, how this is perceived and accepted by the host communities.
This is maybe the most important factor.
Exactly. This is what we see, that gradually, slowly, but changing, say, the composition of societies. We see more and more migrants coming, and if you walk around Belgrade and the cities and the streets, and you take the public transport, you order the food on Glovo or other Volt, and you see a lot of migrant workers actually doing the actual job, the bus drivers and the delivery.
On all levels, we're already interacting, yes.
So this is actually a new reality, the change. You see also the Serbia creating as a condition also for a lot of skilled workers coming. Not only construction, but also other. We see a lot of nomadic IT coming.
Of course. So the stereotype that it's just Glovo drivers or bus drivers is wrong in this regard.
Yeah, exactly. So what's important is these needs to be communicated. These needs to be conveyed to people, conveyed to societies, and people should know. And this is the task, how the migration dynamics are changing. It is very interesting to see, if you walk around again the streets, the beautiful streets in this Starograd, you will see so many small, cozy restaurants, and where you see actually the waiters, you see the chefs, migrants working there. And they're bringing, of course, different culture, different cuisine, and this is the reality to open up, to embrace, to deal with. So, and this is what we see, and this is we see very highly important for countries. So this is changing. And one more thing I have to say here also, that Serbia still remains again as a transit country, no matter what. And in that sense, it requires also a closer work and cooperation with the countries of final destination for those migrants, but also with the countries of previous transition and the origin. And so what we call in IOM route-based approach. And that is again the reality of modern day in the migration dynamics in Serbia.
Of course, so it needs to be a whole network and chain of countries and organizations working together. What are the new trends in migration and different tendencies in the future, as there is increasing discussion as well about foreign workers, as you said?
These are like the trend, again, the shift from crisis or like irregular flows of migrants towards more regular pathways, legal pathways for migration. It is happening, and this is the way to go, and it should continue. But we also see that the whole world is changing. Changing are also the economies. We see more and more, say, industries are reorganizing them, reshaping them. And everybody needs, of course, the labor force. So this is the way to look at. And Serbia needs to prepare itself also for this. So this trend will continue. And in this sense, of course, The governments need to adjust its policies to not only just to respond, to react, but in contrary, to be more proactive, to build that reality, to build this future for migration as well, so that migration becomes more predictable, safer, and so that it works for everyone, not only for migrants, but also it works for the societies, for communities.
Absolutely.
So this is the trend we see. Of course, more and more, say, skilled migrants will be required, and that also requires so that the country works with the countries of origin, so that you, from very onset, you start attracting, bringing people who your businesses need. The businesses need to be involved. That is in this policy-making process. The communities need to, especially in the small towns. Okay, when you are here in Belgrade, it is a big megapolis. When you see, okay, it is easier for any foreigners to come and dissolve, and you know, and
it's
it
not unusual, yes.
But if you go out, a city like Novo Pazova, where you see quite a huge concentration of foreign companies who are bringing more and more migrants, and these migrants in a small community, they are going out, they are interacting with the local people or community. You think how these people are being perceived. Are they able to really talk, communicate? Culturally, are they fit? Or is the local community ready to accept these changes, people? So these are the questions that are increasingly becoming important. We are so very happy there to say that we see a clear understanding by government partners of these necessities. And as we speak, we are working with the national partners also, and we are to strengthening the capacities of government institutions to deal such necessities, to look at the integration of these people coming for work. It's important for businesses also.
Of course.
Because the businesses are interested to bring in people who can stay longer. Not just come, okay, work for a year or two and then either move on forward to other countries or go back. And then you have to bring in new workers, people. Again, you need to invest. But it is better if these people stay. Because these people are coming, many, maybe they're coming young, but at some point they want to have their families. They need to bring, the country should be ready to embrace those as well. So these are so many issues, and that we take. So this is the trends, the dynamics, and it will continue.
Of course. I think you also set a perfect framework for my next question as well, and that is in what ways can migration actually become a driver of Serbia's economic and social development as well?
Yeah, this is actually a very important element. The way you see the migration. If you see the migration as from very onset as a threat for your security, for your, I don't know, the changing the landscape, or if you see that, okay, it will affect the structure of your say the identity, ethnicity. So if you see that way, then you obviously will be dealing with problems only. But if you look from different perspective, you see as more a factor for development. As you see the migrants as agents of development. Then you get total new and different perspective. And this in Serbia can actually harness the potentials of migration in two ways. Number one, by bringing people in, foreigners in, and foreign migrants, workers, which is again, it's a necessity. It is not only Serbia, all countries in
of course, there are many examples,
but also in the entire EU. So this is the reality of the contemporary world. So you have to deal with that. So if you bring them in and you make the right policy, you get the right integration of them into the societies, and you appreciate the contribution they make to your development. then you get the better results. Just an example is last year's the remittances sent by globally the migrants reached almost $1 trillion globally. $1 trillion. Yeah. Serbia's alone, it was, if I'm not mistaken, around 8 billion the euros level. So that was, and this is huge contribution to the economies of their countries of origin. But it's also well known that migrants are not sending all the money back their home. They are making
here, yes,
2-3 times more than that. In fact, migrants are generating at least $3, if not $4 trillion annually, directly. But if you take also indirect economy, because they're using the services, they're contributing indirectly to economic development, you go far beyond astronomical figures, numbers. This is the contribution. But the question is, do you admit that? Do you appreciate that? This is the thing. So by making migrants, the incoming migration, labor migration, more organized, better managed, creating even better conditions for migrants so that they can even produce more wealth, we are making only better. This is how you see. But there's also the second way, because as I already mentioned, Serbia still remains as a country of origin for migrants itself.
Yes.
So, and how much that potential is being really used for the socio-economic development of the country. So there are large diaspora, you see. So we hear that some statistics say there are more than 5,000 scientists, Serbian scientists working abroad. How much of their capacities are being utilized? How much they are involved in innovative initiatives across the country, economic, rural development, greening of the country, which are the national priorities, how much they are engaged. Are there sufficient conditions for those migrants working abroad so that they can invest back financially, socially, but also they can bring a lot of know-how to the country development. This is, we see the great potential, and in both ways would serve one of the best interests of Serbia. And again, I'm very glad to see that Serbia is indeed making efforts to work in both ways. We see increasing discussions and policy level engagement on bringing more migrants. We recently witnessed that Serbia just signing recently an MOU with with Uzbekistan, so that there will be better cooperation with the two on bringing in labor migrants from the country. Negotiations are going on to building these relationships with Bangladesh, with Nepal, with India, with other countries, with Ghana, in African countries. So this is really positive signs that they're moving in the right way. But we are engaged in a very close discussions with the government on engaging the diaspora, specifically scientific diaspora. Mm. We soon should start a new project where we want to support the government in building up those connections with the scientific diaspora so that they can be involved in scientific development, in research oriented operations, or in parts of industries or economies highly demanding in terms of innovative approach, in terms of technically advanced spheres. So these are the requirements that we believe building such connections will help. Plus, of course, creating this enabling environment for migrants to become investors of your country, especially in remote areas, rural areas, where those type of interventions are most needed.
Yeah, so decentralized, not just in Belgrade, but
exactly.
there as well. Now, could you also share with us how is trust built between international organizations, the state, and the citizens, which are all very different actors in this process?
As in any process, including the migration governance, it is really important you have this trust. And the trust can be built not just saying, okay, we trust each other, but it should be built only through real transparency, real partnership. And the most important also through the consistent delivery of results. And this is how IOM, but also any other international institutions should act. And of course, we are trying in that way and the best way, so that to ensure that with the institutions especially, the national priorities and also this national ownership of the process is respected fully. And there you see what we are doing is needed for the country, and this is what is in the national priority of the country. This is absolutely necessary, the tool. But also it requires clear communication, sharing information. And so in that sense, I believe we are working quite good with our national partners. We've been a quite trusted partner for government of Serbia for now over 3 decades. Equally it goes when it comes to dealing with the citizens. Citizens have all the right to know who is coming to the country, what they are doing, how they are being, they're treated, and how they contribute. And they have right. They need to know that. You have to open these channels of interaction with the citizens, with the civil society institutions. In IOM, we promote what we call the whole of society approach, the whole of government approach. Especially when it comes to migration, it's such a complex, cross-cutting issue. It is needed. So citizen involvement civil society involvement in important policy making, decision making is highly, highly important. This is what we are encouraging, and that we believe the way Serbia is moving towards integration with the EU in this process is also specifically important. Human rights centrist approach is a must, but also rule of law should be prevailing. That's what and this of course, this is for the sake of everyone.
So participation is needed from everyone in
Absolutely.
this regard.
Absolutely.
So everyone could see transparently how the process unveils.
Absolutely.
Now for the last question for this interview, could you tell us how does Serbia generally mark International Migrants Day?
Oh yeah, so I've been, this is my 2nd year actually, we are marking this day here in Serbia, but I was impressed actually from the last year, the way how much the importance the government is attaching to this day. And this is a clear sign of the recognition of migration as a factor, one way or another. But we see again more and more that migration is seen more on a positive side, and this is important. This is exactly the day when we remind ourselves that, yeah, the migrants and migration are an important factor for countries' socio-economic development, for countries' security, for people's well-being, and this is the recognition of it, but also appreciation of the contribution these migrants make to the development. Some numbers, figures I already mentioned during the discussion, so it is important that we know that. But also one should know, I think for people deserve to know that this day is actually tailored the day when the UN Convention was adopted on the protection of the rights of migrants, workers, and their family members.
I see. So this is why this date was...
This is exactly, that was on 18 December 1990.
I see.
So in a sense, quite many countries have joined this convention, and we are marking this date, again, to remind to everyone of the importance of the day, recognize the role migrants play, and in so many countries, including Serbia, we were mentioning about this whole difficult times in 90s and beginning of 2000 for Serbian, the entire society, the economic situations, the role of remittances sent by migrants, Serbian migrants, going abroad, it cannot be underestimated. And we are recognizing, paying tribute to that, but also we are making the commitments that we will be working towards make this migration work for the best interest of all. Migrants, their families, communities, the state, the countries of origin, for everyone. And this is the day, that's why it is important to mark.
Of course. Mr. Hadžijev, thank you once again for sharing the importance of the mission of the IOM and taking the time of your day to speak with us.
Thank you for the initiative.
A našim dragim gledalcima hvala na pažnji. Gledali ste razgovor sa gospodinom Zejnalom Hadžijevom, šefom misije Međunarodne organizacije za migracije u Srbiji. Ostanite uz nas jer dalje idu diplomatski događaji.
Brigadni general Antonio Stasi je novi 13. šef NATO Vojne kancelarije u Beogradu, a zaduženje je na svečanoj ceremoniji organizovanoj tim povodom preuzeo od generala Pierluigija Lodole. Događaju su prisustvovali predstavnici Vojske Srbije, diplomatskog kora, stranih vojnih delegacija i stručnjaka iz oblasti bezbednosti i odbrane.
Ovo imenovanje za mene je velika čast i privilegija, s obzirom na to da naš tim ima značajnu odgovornost u jačanju partnerstava NATO-a i Srbije. Partnerstvo NATO-a sa vašom zemljom zasnovano je na zahtevima Srbije uz puno poštovanje srpske vojne neutralnosti od strane alijanse. Naša kancelarija se uvek trudila da olakša saradnju alijanse Srbije u okviru programa Partnerstvo za mir. Danas mogu da potvrdim čvrstu posvećenost daljem unapređenju političkog dijaloga i zajedničkih napora sa srpskim partnerima.
Sledeće godine navršava se 2 decenije od pristupanja Srbije programu Partnerstvo za mir, odnosno od osnivanja NATO Kancelarije za vojnu vezu u Beogradu. I taj jubilej treba posmatrati kao prekretnicu tokom koje će se sagledati dosadašnji rezultati i budući planovi za saradnju, izjavio je general Pierluigi Lodola.
Predstojeća godišnjica poslužit će kao okvir za budući pravac partnerstva NATO-a i Srbije, koje je osmišljeno tako da podrži zajedničke strateške interese, poput stabilnosti regiona. Zajedno smo radili i razvijali brojne projekte, ne samo u vojnoj sferi, već i u energetici, oblasti zaštite životne sredine i upravljanja prirodnim katastrofama, sa jedinstvenim ciljem da zaštitimo ljude i spasimo živote. Za ovih godinu dana rada u Beogradu, moj osjećaj je da sam od Srbije i od srpskog naroda dobio više nego što sam im dao. Hvala ti, Srbijo, što si me ugostila i što si mi pružila priliku da upoznam tvoju istoriju, tvoje predele i tvoje ljude.
U okviru ceremonije preuzimanja dužnosti video porukom iz Italije se obratio i admiral George Vajkov, komandant NATO komande Združenih snaga u Napulju.
Naša kancelarija za vojnu vezu u Beogradu je centralno mesto partnerstva Srbije i NATO-a. Tokom poslednjih 19 godina to partnerstvo je napredovalo tempom i na način koji je Srbija sama odabrala, uz puno poštovanje NATO-a prema politici vojne neutralnosti Srbije i njenoj nezavisnosti. Kontinuirano prisustvo naše kancelarije unutar sistema odbrane Srbije pokazuje snagu i veze koje smo zajedno izgradili.
Od 2006. godine do danas na čelu Kancelarije za vojnu vezu u Beogradu bilo je 12 načelnika, a posljednjih 8 dolazilo je iz Italije. Odlazeći šef NATO Vojne kancelarije, general Lodola, preuzeo je u decembru prošle godine dužnost od italijanskog brigadnog generala Giampiera Romana. Božićni bazar etno mreže kojim je promovisano nematerijalno kulturno naslijeđe Srbije održan je u rezidenciji Edwarda Fergusona, ambasadora Velike Britanije u Srbiji i njegove supruge Caroline.
Etno mreža je divna organizacija sa izuzetnim delovanjem. Pruža podršku ženama širom Srbije koje čuvaju od zaborava veštine koje se, nažalost, gube u mnogim našim zemljama. One ih održavaju u životu i pronalaze nove načine da ih predstave. Etno mreža im dakle pruža podršku kroz ekonomsko osnaživanje, posebno u sredinama u kojima često imaju vrlo malo mogućnosti za ostvarivanje prihoda. Zaista nam je drago što ste svi ovde. Nadam se da ste probali kuvano vino i pite sa voćnim punjenjem. Ako još niste kupili listić za tombolu, možete to učiniti, izvlačenje će biti malo kasnije. Hvala vam i uživajte u ovoj prazničnoj atmosferi.
Na bazaru su se prodavale rukotvorine članica etno mreže sa posebnim akcentom na praznični program koji je obuhvatio ukrase za jelku, predmete za uređenje interijera i aksesuare za zimsku sezonu, uz kreativne radionice i prateće sadržaje.
Govorim u ime stotina žena zanatlija iz cele Srbije koje izrađuju ove predivne proizvode koji osnažuju žene i daju veliki doprinos rodnoj ravnopravnosti. Pored toga, oni doprinose razvoju naših lokalnih zajednica i poštuju životnu sredinu. Toliko toga može da se postigne jednom jednostavnom, a tako odgovornom kupovinom i zato vas večeras, ali i u buduće pozivam da to učinite. Posebnu zahvalnost upućujemo našim divnim domaćinima, Kari i Edu, koji su uz nas i podržavaju nas kroz mnoge naše aktivnosti.
Etno mreža poslednjih 20 godina radi na očuvanju kulturnog nasleđa Srbije, negujući tradicionalne zanate i autentične motive poput ornamenata sa ćilima. Ambasada Libije u Beogradu organizovala je svečani prijem povodom obeležavanja 74. godišnjice nezavisnosti te zemlje, kao i ponovnog otvaranja Nacionalnog muzeja u Tripoliju, nekada poznatog kao Crvena tvrđava. Ambasador Galbun je na svečanosti ukazao i na značaj dobrih istorijskih bilateralnih odnosa između Srbije i Libije i zahvalio se na podršci zajedničkim inicijativama i unapređenju saradnje zarad zajedničkih interesa.
Nacionalni muzej kao spomenik kulture predstavlja osnovni stub očuvanja nacionalnog pamćenja Libije, dokumentovanja faza razvoja naše države i isticanja civilizacijskog nasleđa koje svedoči o dubini korena i raznolikosti naših kultura, koje se prostiru kroz gotovo 10.000 godina. Sa novim sadržajima i savremenim pristupom, to nije samo izložbeni prostor, već i obrazovna i saznajna platforma, most koji povezuje generacije i sredstvo za potvrđivanje našeg civilizacijskog prisustva na regionalnom i međunarodnom nivou. Ujedno i svedočanstvo posvećenosti državnih institucija, ulaganju u kulturu kao ključni stub sveobuhvatnog razvoja.
Nacionalni muzej u Libiji zatvoren je 2011. godine tokom pobune protiv Gadafija, a njegovo renoviranje je započeto pre 2 godine. Prostire se na 10.000 kvadratnih metara galerijskog prostora sa muralima, mozaicima, skulpturama, artefaktima i novcem koji datiraju iz praistorije preko rimskog, grčkog i islamskog perioda Libije. U susret predstojećim praznicima u Ambasadi Hrvatske u Beogradu organizovan je božićni prijem kojem su prisustvovali gosti iz poslovnog sveta i prijatelji ambasade. Pozdravio ih je Hidajet Biščević, ambasador Hrvatske, i Marija Radulović, predsjednica Hrvatskog poslovnog kluba u Srbiji, koji su govorili o izazovima u odlazećoj godini.
Svi znate da smo imali dosta problema, da je tu bilo i incidentnih situacija i neželjenih situacija, međutim, idemo dalje, ko što kaže jedna poslovica, nisam upoznao pesimistu koji je uspio u životu, pa idemo dalje i pokušavamo raditi šta bolje možemo. Nadamo se da će ova produžena stagnacija u bilateralnim odnosima u kojima se zapravo ništa ne događa u smislu rješavanja otvorenih političkih pitanja, da to neće u znatnoj mjeri utjecati na gospodarske i trgovinske odnose između Hrvatske i Srbije. Evo, još jednom vas pozdravljam. Želim vam svima sve najbolje uz predstojeće blagdane.
Želim da se zahvalim koleginicama iz drugih komora koji su tu, sa kojima smo izgurale dosta stvari u drugom delu godine. Tako da ne bih da ih imenujem, ali svi znate i mislim da ćemo nastaviti dalje da radimo i povezivanju sa fondacijom Anton Gustav Matoš, sa novim ravnateljem, gde smo otvorili neke nove stvari, gospodinom Marinom Pijukovićem, tako da spremamo se za 2026. To će biti bolje, pa kakva bude. U svakom slučaju želim sve najbolje za Božić i za tu novu 2026.
Božićni prijemi u ambasadama koji se najčešće organizuju u prvoj polovini i sredinom decembra važni su povodi novih susreta između pojedinaca ili organizacija, odnosno prostor za negovanje prijateljstva i diplomatije kroz jednu manje formalnu i svečanu priliku.